This is the Earthwalk Spiritual Center of the Church of Tzaddi, and I'm Reverend Lorraine Weber, and this is our reflection for our regular service here in Detroit, Michigan on Sunday, April the 12th. So, and if some of you have already heard from me, what has triggered my reflection today was I ran across this article by Tad. That's all the name he had on it, so I can't give him any more credit for it. But the title of the article was "Why Stop Playing Small is Bullshit," and it was very interesting to me because I reflected that I often talk to people and say you're so much larger than you know, and it's. And the implication being stop playing small, stop holding yourself so small in the world. So, of course, I was attracted to this kind of provocative article that says, well, why stop playing small is bullshit. We ought to re-examine it. And so I did and read the article. And the focus of what he was talking about was really looking at the pressure that so many people have to have a big impact in the world. That if what you do doesn't change the lives of thousands or have a big presence on the landscape, if you're not famous or wealthy or influential or powerful in the world, that somehow or another you're not playing up to your full potential. You're not being all you can be. I mean, that's a wonderful kind of thing, and yet we impose upon them, and what you ought to be is this impressive kind of expansive being in the world that is going to be able to, change the lives of millions. And if we haven't done that, then somehow or another our culture and our world and our society says to us, you're just not playing full out. You're just not doing what you need to do. And he talks about this that as he attends workshops and seminars and people respond online, that there's this kind of pervasive feeling along people's reflections that they're somehow just not living up to their potential. I used to laugh a lot. I said to Nick, I think it was a Charlie Brown cartoon where I think it was Schroeder who was sitting at the piano saying, "There's no greater burden than a great potential." And on some level we have taken on that burden. We all believe we have a great potential, and somehow or another that potential doesn't just have to be realized, but it has to be recognized. It has to be displayed. It has to be known. We have to be seen in it. And Tad's kind of approach to all of this is to say, we have created an incredible burden on ourselves to try to meet that expectation. And I would dare to say on our children, that we are raising generations of children who are burdened with a great potential. That in our zeal to tell them they can be all they can be and they can do anything and they can have anything and they can change the world, that when that activity or that capacity is not realized in the way that they have internalized it, that somehow or another there's this feeling of failure. There's this feeling like, I dropped the ball. I'm not playing as big as I can. I'm not doing all that I can do. I'm not being all that I can be. And I think we have to really reflect on the kinds of pressure we place on ourselves and on each other in that. And I think to that extent, what he's saying is very powerful because we tie that all up with a lot of things that are really mythology. I mean, we tie that up with the mythology of the hero, of the one person that makes all the difference. And it is easy to see that, we look at a Nelson Mandela, we look at a Martin Luther King Jr., we look at a Mahatma Gandhi, and, we even look at a Jesus and we say, wow, that one person made all the difference. But that's not really true. They didn't make all the difference. They were part of a large community and movement that made all the difference. They could not alone have accomplished anything. They had a role to play in the difference that was made. And the particular role that they played put them in the forefront, might have made them the visionary, they might have been the leader, they might have established a way of connecting. But they did not make all the difference. They didn't, Rosa Parks didn't make all the difference when she decided not to move to the back of the bus. The tens of thousands of people that utilized that action as a call to arms and to protest and to change were all the people who made the difference. From the person who put the stamps on the letters that went out to the people who rode the buses to the people who gave their lives. All of those people made the difference. And we have a tendency to relegate the smaller contributions into this idea that those contributions were meaningful or important or transformative, when in fact they were. And there isn't any change that has happened in the world that isn't a function of those kind of large-scale willingness on many people's part. So we lose track of that because it is important to have a Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King or a Rosa Parks as a focus for those changes, for those contributions. But we kid ourselves if we think that's all it took, that was sufficient for the world to shift, for our culture to do new things. So I think we get to take that down into a real place of looking at, when I feel like I'm playing small, what playground am I in? What playground do I need to play big in? And so my own personal reflection on when I work with people and I invite them into their gardens is I'm rarely, if ever, talking about inviting them into playing big in the world. I'm often inviting them into playing big in their being. To see themselves as large, no matter what they are doing in the world. And that's a very different way of holding the idea of playing small. If you believe that you are intrinsically small and meaningless and not important, and that what you do doesn't matter, that's what I mean when I say stop playing small. If you think playing small means I haven't changed the world, I haven't made, a ton of money or become powerful or influenced millions, that's an entirely different equation. And I think we mix the two up. I think our culture wants us to mix the two up, and we place a lot of pressure on ourselves to not really recognize the unknown and unforeseen consequences of our small actions. I can't imagine what impact things that I have done or said or contributed have had out in the world. I've had people who I quite honestly don't remember come up to me and say, you said something to me and it made all the difference. And I go, I'm glad. How wonderful. I have no idea what it was, or even why I said it, or what I intended when I said it, or that I had anything to do with, what I said here will make all the difference in the world to this person. And I suspect if I measured whatever contributions I make by that standard, that I need to make all the difference, probably what I say would get less and less impactful. It would be less and less important. It would be less and less meaningful. It would just be an egotistic expression of my own self-importance. And by its very nature would not have an energetic signature that would allow it to be utilized by the person receiving it in a way that moves them to another place in their own evolution. Because you can't ultimately be impactful in that way unless you have, in your own way, created a value system that says, I'm just going to do the best I can with what I've got. You said that to Mac earlier, and I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He had since, however, said it back to me. So I think that's like, but that idea of I'm doing the very best I can with this one, with who I am and what I hold, and in that I got to be big. I can't diminish or make small this one that's doing that, no matter how it looks out there. I need to know that what comes from that place is really large. And I cannot let myself play small from there, in that playground, in that internal, personal soul space that says, this is how large I am here. Whether or not I do anything big out here, many of you have sat through, the conversation where I said, gosh, I look at Marianne Williamson, and boy, she has a church, and she has all these followers, and she's written all these books, and people quote her all over the place, All right, get my ego out of the way. That's not my path. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to look around and say, why isn't Earth Walk 1,000 people? Why don't I have a mega church and I'm on the TV? I recognize that as a part of me. It says, I'm sitting here with wonderful small group of people, and probably this recording, we're lucky Amy will get 20 other people who listen to it. Those are the 30 people that are going to hear my words out here. So I can get really small in that and say, gosh, what would happen if 3,000 people heard those words? I recognize that as well. But I also know that I have no idea what the 30 people who hear these words, what they might mean, how they might flow into the world out there in a way that I can't control, that I have no ability to manage, and that it really isn't my business. If I learn about it, fine. If somebody tells me, fine. If they don't, it's really not my business what happens with them. I just have to be here, be in my own largeness, knowing what my playground is, what I've chosen as my playground, because let's be clear, I chose it. And to trust that I'm living out of my own largeness in a way that I can't imagine what it is. And what happens if we each do that? What happens if we stop worrying about playing small out there and focus our energy on, I'm playing large in here. I am fucking perfect in here. This is the thing I'm holding on to and living from. So in this piece, blessing Tad all the way for saying, stop asking yourself to change the world. Just change you in the world, and the rest will flow. Who says become the change you want to see in the world? That's what that's about. That's a kind of largeness that is very difficult to achieve, and is also ultimately self-satisfying. Because you will be chasing that tail out in that world forever. It will never be enough. You see story after story of people who have achieved, and who are looking at themselves. They need more. I have to do more. I have to be bigger. I have to be whatever. There's nothing wrong with small, possible, and unique. As Dad said, we need a lot of people who can be wide and shallow and narrow and deep. All those things are important. We can't just start. Everybody can't be Martin Luther King. Wouldn't work that way. Doesn't help. Doesn't make the change that we hope will happen for us. So Tad asked the questions: what if small was as beautiful as life? What if there was such a thing as enough? What if you could say, this is enough? I think that is a huge teaching, and one that we do not give ourselves. I learned it in law school. You could never do enough research. I still be researching the problem. There is an endless, and even more now, with the endless amount of complexity and information we have in the world. You have to know how to say this is enough. I'm enough. This is enough. We've done enough. This will have to be sufficient. And it's hard for us overachievers to do that. It's never enough. There's always another mountain to climb. There's always another thing to achieve. What is success? The definition that we have of success looks different than what we thought it did. It doesn't have to be tied up with material worth or educational accomplishment or economic, growth. But success gets defined by: am I living from my largeness? Am I living from this place of myself? And what if we really recognize that the impact that we have in the world is really not something we can control? I can't control what anybody is going to do with what I say or how I act or what I've accomplished or what I build or create. Artists learn that. They let go of their creation. Their music goes out into the world. They don't know what it will do. Their painting gets hung on someone's wall and means something entirely different to the perceiver. So all of our creations are like that. Everything that we make, have achieved, and assemble, are things that we cannot go what that they will have. And then finally, when you say, I want to make a difference, really understand what you mean by that. Difference is where. You want to make a difference here. You want to become different. You want to perhaps become who you have always meant yourself to be. That's the difference today. That's the only difference. And then you will do that. So I think that the upshot of this is to truly give yourself permission to, what is it, think locally and act locally, be big in your own spirit, in your own connection to self, in your own understanding of the large and broad, and allow that to be expressed in the world in a way. It may not be or will be, but will in fact do and achieve and accomplish whatever it is that particular vibration you have now acted is ready to fulfill, and then you just have to trust that it is sufficient to the task that your own soul is supposed to be. So in our meditation, what I would like you to do, if you would mind, is putting your feet on the floor and closing your eyes. Give yourself permission right now to just relax. Feel yourself letting go of all of the external world. Sometimes resting on our shoulders, holding us in a very particular kind of way. And as you do that,